call. I can see that we've just had about another load of people joining. Welcome everybody, it's great to have you here. As you can see, we've got Lee Parkinson, Mr. P with us, and myself, I'm Tesney, and I'm joining you from Staedtler Teachers Club. Don't worry, you won't be seeing my face too much or hearing my voice too much anymore. I'm just going to be running through a quick presentation with you. Oh, there we go. We've got some functions being used in the Q&A already. Lee, there's a few things in there for you. A nice comment about your hair. So
I'll take that. Yeah, looking very serious. So it's been a long day, guys. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Thank you again for all using the Q&A section. And again, I promise I won't keep you too long. Right, I think we're about ready to get going. What I will do is I will share my screen with you so you guys can see a very, very quick few slides and a quick video. And then after that, I will pass you over to Lee. If anyone else is joining, welcome, and please feel free to leave some comments in the Q&A section as we go. So I'm just going to share my screen with you now, so that you can all see what's going on. Hopefully you can all see that, and it shouldn't be any problems at all. So I'm just going to start our wonderful presentation here. So first of all, I would love to welcome you all to our teacher talk. Of course, this is part of Staedtler Teachers Club 10-year anniversary celebrations. Woohoo! Happy birthday, Staedtler Teachers Club. I've been a part of it for a little while now, and it's fantastic to have such an involved teaching community. So we'd like to welcome you all and thank you all for being valued Teachers Club members today. And we really hope you're going to enjoy. And of course, I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you at our future teacher talks too. So for those of you that are interested, we've got one with Shazia Mirza on comedy in the classroom. We've got one with Greg Jenner about making history less horrible. Not that it's that horrible to start off with. And we've got Angelica Bell and Michael Underwood delivering sessions as well. It's really, really exciting. We've got a few more bits coming up for the rest of the month. Just a quick note as well, don't forget, for all of you Teachers Club members, we also have a 30% off discount for whsmith.co.uk, and that is off all Staedtler products. So anything you need, do head over there. For those of you that like to share something on social media, please feel free to. We're more than happy for that. If you can, however, be sure to hashtag Teacher Talk 2022, as we will then be able to keep track and sort of engage with your comments and as so, and then we'll be able to, you know, keep an eye up on what's going on there. It seems that here we go. If I just reshare so we can get started. Lovely, that's more like it. Okay, so again, welcome once again. I'm just going to move on to a very, very quick video. Just first look, you guys, the first people to see this. It's super cute. It features some wonderful students. It's about 30 seconds long, so I promise not to keep you too long. But again, please do feel free to share on social media as you see fit. And use hashtag Teacher Talk 2022. Okay, here we go. How sweet was that? Super cute. I definitely would have been the student to rip my name tag, as I'm sure some of you might have been too, but absolutely adorable. You guys are the first people to see that, so if you do have any quick comments, feel free to pop them in the Q&A. These students were great and it was wonderful. But as I mentioned, I won't keep you too long now. I'm sure you're bored of hearing my voice a little bit, but I will see you all at the end. I'm going to pass you over to Lee, who can get started. He should be able to share his screen shortly. I will stop sharing, and I hope you're all ready to get going with some top tips. Over to you, Lee.
Brill, thank you very much. Are you all right? Let me share my screen. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, coming up sooner.
My apologies. I thought I had
you're right.
already. There you go. You should now be.
There we go. Super. Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining me on a Tuesday evening. I hope you've had a good start to the week. On the screen here, I always get asked what are my top list of apps to use in the classroom. That's them there. Now we're going to look through a couple of these in this session. Obviously, there'll be a lot that we can't fit into today, but if you are interested in exploring a few more of these apps and how they can be used to transform your curriculum, you can head over to my website where you'll find step-by-step tutorials for each and every one of them. So just to introduce myself, my name is Lee. I am a primary school teacher from Manchester. I work in rainy Manchester this evening. I work at a school called David Hume Primary, which is just around the corner from the Trafford Centre. If you've ever been to Manchester before, about, I'd say, half an hour walk from Old Trafford. Go on the Reds. And I've been working in my school for the past, well, this is my 15th year of teaching. I am officially the old guard in my school, right? I am the longest serving member of staff, bar the SLT. And you might be asking, well, at what point do you realise that you're part of the old guard? And I realised when the younger NQTs, ECTs organised a few pre-drinks before the end of summer do and didn't invite me. So that's when I realised I must be the, part of the old guard. It wasn't down to the fact they don't like me. Anyway, so I've been in my school for the past 15 years, and for the past few years, I've been working there part-time and then doing this sort of thing part-time. Usually face-to-face, traveling here, there and everywhere, but, virtually wherever possible as well. So, I don't consider myself an expert when it comes to using technology. Truth be told, the way I became ICT subject leader in my school was as an eager to please NQT, or ECT as they're now known. When you're really enthusiastic before the system beats it out of you. I made a video for the Year 6 Leavers Assembly, just some pics of their time through school, set to the soundtrack of like Green Day, Time of Your Life. And the head teacher thought that was Oscar worthy, blew his head off. And he was like, you've got to be ICT leader. And I'm not complaining. I think computing is the best subject to lead in a primary school for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you do get the dreaded Ofsted call, right, the likelihood of them doing a deep dive in computing when seeing an inspector with a piece of technology, sort of like your nan, sort of thing. The second reason is it's the only subject you can lead in the primary school where you are literally treated like a superhero for being able to turn things off and on at the mains. It's unbelievable. It's like a superhero skill that no other teacher in the school possesses. Sometimes, I don't know if there are any other computing subject leaders there, sometimes just being in the same room as the computer almost feels like the computer sees you and goes, oh, I've got to start working now. It's a mate sort of Jedi mind trick. But yeah, but hopefully what should shine through is sort of pedagogy and teaching ideas that sort of underpin everything. I just want to share with you a few sort of quick wins, a few things that you can take back to class tomorrow and actually give a go, and it have an impact on teaching and learning, transforms your curriculum in lots of creative ways, and in some ways look at ways in which that technology can help us do our job a little bit more effectively and efficiently. So obviously we've got the Q&A feature, so do whack any questions in there, and then probably about an hour or so we will go through those questions. But if there are any questions off the back of today, you can get in touch. The quickest way of getting in touch would be through the socials. So if you drop me a message on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it might be. I'll also quickly mention my website as well. I'm going to do a shameless plug for my website, which I created a couple of years ago as a way in which teachers can carry on the learning journey off the back of the training. So when I do training in schools, teachers really enjoy it. They go away really sort of inspired, but then a day later, when that teaching lot gets in the way, they sometimes forget some of the ideas. So I set up the website where you can access all of the CPD from the comfort of the couch, or it might be on those tiny little Key Stage 1 chairs that give you knee damage before you're 35. And yeah, there's over 1,000 bite-sized CPD videos on there that you can access. We've got sort of the computing documents, knowledge progression documents, year group overviews. If you subscribe as a whole school, where everyone gets a login, you also get access to the computing scheme of work that's on there. which I think is pretty good, quite innovative, all about giving children a set of skills that they can then apply across the rest of the curriculum. So do check that out. Do check MrPICT.com out. Right. So as a teacher, I recognize sort of everyday teacher problems. Do you ever do things like this? You know, when you're marking a set of children's books and you get to the last one and realize they're off ill. Do you ever do that celebration like you just won at life? Celebrating the fact when your children are really poorly. Oh, Michael's got tonsillitis. You're joking. Get in there. Saves me 10 minutes pointlessly highlighting his book. Here's live footage of my class putting their date and title in their books there. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Who was this at the beginning of summer when you found out you didn't have to move year group so you could actually have a summer break rather than messing around with displays, stapling your finger to a board? And my favourite one's this one, when the staff meeting should have ended half an hour ago and someone else asked a question. We all know that, teacher, don't we? And if you sat there thinking, I don't think there's anyone like that in our school, it's probably you. So what I want to do is I just want to start off by giving you a handful of tools that you can use in class tomorrow, okay? So I'm just going to get my web browser up there, and we are going to start with this tool, right? So is that presenting? What's going on there? Right, there we go. Right, so, oh, there we go. This is a little tool called Mentimeter, okay? This is absolutely free. And what you can do is you can sign up to it as a teacher, email and password, and then you can start creating slides. Now, on each slide, you can pose a question to your children. There are then different options as to how the answers are presented on your screen. We're going to explore a couple of them. So some that I'm not going to show you, there's a lot of data handling options. So if you want to use it in maths or in science, you can do. And then the children can log in, answer the questions, and then their answers appear on the screen. So we're going to give this a go. So I hope you've all got a device with you that you can use, or whether it's open in a new browser on your device. Yeah, the first, I've done the wrong question here, but not to worry. This is normally the second question. So the question here is, what stops you and your staff making more from technology in your school, right? So you should see sort of 10 text boxes. Now, I don't want you to necessarily, you don't have to fill out all 10 text boxes, but if you can just put a word or phrase in as many of those boxes as possible, we'll have a little chat about what comes out. Okay, so here's one of the options as a live word cloud, right? So you know how word clouds work. Any word that's repeated appears bigger. So I like to use this with Mentimeter for things like pre-reading tasks. So before we delve into a comprehension, I will share the text with the children. They can read it through. They can then share any words or phrases that stand out where they think, oh, I'd like to explore that. So it sort of can give you an insight into what vocabulary you might need to focus on. It might be at the start of a topic, you ask the children to share what they already know about that topic as a pre-learning task. We can then repeat that at the end of the topic to show how much vocabulary and knowledge the children have retained. Not necessarily on Mentimeter, but other word cloud apps. I actually use it for whole class feedback because and this might hopefully give you a bit of that back, the time that's come out on top there. So I'm not a massive fan of marking. I think marking is one of the most pointless things we do as teachers. Not to say it doesn't work at all, but I just think given the amount of time that you have to put into it for the impact it has, it is probably one of the most pointless things we do. And we all know this, don't we? We all know it. Like every teacher on this planet knows that the best form of feedback is oral verbal feedback. But can our education system trust us to do the job we're capable of doing? Oh, I don't know. So I can't stand when I come across schools who have things like marking policies, because I just think you completely miss the point of feedback. If you've got a marking, you might as well stick it in the toilet and use it as toilet paper. It'll be probably more effective. Feedback policies, I'm all for. Oh, I love a feedback policy, because actually there's lots of different ways to give feedback. It depends on the child and it depends on the task. So one way in which I use word clouds for whole class feedback is if the children have written a little paragraph with their writing, I'll read through all the children's work, and with each child I'll pick up 3 things that I want them to have a look at, and I'll put those 3 things into a word cloud. So once I've been through the whole class, there's a word cloud there where the most common issues appear biggest. So I then put that up on my board and I'll say to the children, right, children, I read through some of your work yesterday. Some of it was brilliant, and I'll start by sharing a really good example. But as you can see on the board, I've picked up on a few things that we might need to look at and address and to improve our writing today. So the biggest one there, the most common issue was, I don't know, commas. So can anyone tell me where we'd use a comma, why we'd use a comma? Let me model through my visualizer where I would add commas, and I'm going to pass it over to you. And now that I've explained why and how, you are going to now address it in your work in a different coloured pen. So it can actually, and that tends to be a lot more effective than you sitting there for 3, 4, 5 hours a night, highlighting it in 5 different flipping colours, because God forbid the page doesn't look like a unicorn's defecated a rainbow over it, because you've got to follow all the negotiables from your marking policy. Anyway, right, you get the point. So just addressing some of the things that have come out here, the top 3 usually are knowledge, time and confidence. Now, the one there, budget, I can't really do much about that. All I can suggest is that you vote differently at the next election, because I can't see things improving until that happens. But yeah, knowledge, confidence and time, that's what I can sort of help with, because I think they all link together. So the reason that we don't feel knowledgeable and confident is because we don't have time. And that's where my training, if I do like full days inset and courses, it's evolved a lot over the past few years, because what I've come to realize is when I was doing my training, I was sharing idea after idea after idea. Teachers enjoyed the training, but it wouldn't really have the impact because they were never given the time to actually implement it. So what I tend to do on my training is look at ways in which the technology can save you time. And if I can give you ideas to take that time back, you can reinvest it in building your own confidence and knowledge. Right. So for me to get a bit of an idea of what you've been doing with technology and where to sort of pitch everything here, you should see the option for you to go to the next slide or move to the previous question, whatever it might be. And I've just got another quick one for you to do here, where you should see sort of text box asking you how you've used technology recently in your classroom. So what I'd like you to do is not necessarily just add the app in, but what you did with the app. So, I use this app to do this, or we use this program to create this. And a couple of examples there will just give me a nice idea of sort of where we're up to. Okay, so keep adding answers in. This is just one of the other options you've got, a scrolling grid. So as you contribute answers, it'll update it and it'll just scroll through showing everyone's answers on the screen. So again, a really nice way of presenting children's ideas, or if you're doing shared writing, right, children, we've learned how to use a 2A sentence to describe our character. Can everyone have a go at writing their own? Everyone's answers come up on the board. We can then discuss, share, and magpie each other's ideas. Again, shared research. If you're doing a little bit of research about, I don't know, ancient Rome, children, what do you know about Julius Caesar? We can all contribute ideas there, and some really nice ideas coming through, which is great to see. So yeah, so that's the tool Mentimeter, absolutely free, as in you can only, the free version only allows you to create so many slides, but there's enough there for you to get going with it. Some really nice apps coming. Nice to see a couple of schools using Seesaw, which is my favorite tech tool to use in the classroom. And depending on time, we might have a little look at that. Right, on to the next one. We're going to have a look at this tool, Blookit.com. Now, I saw with the Mentimeter that a few people have been using Kahoot. So the best way in which I can describe Kahoot, describe Blookit, is it's like Kahoot on steroids, right? So you've got the likes of Kahoot, Socrative, quizzes, but my favorite at the minute is Blookit. Now, it works the exact same way. You can create a set of questions, you can search a question set that other teachers have made, and then favorite them. So I've got a question set that I've been using week in, week out with my year fours, because they've got to sit that really important, incredibly necessary times tables check. And this has almost become a little bit of the children absolutely love this, to the point it's now almost like a little carrot that I dangle. Right, children, if we get the rest of our work done, we might have time for a Blookit at the end of the session. So we're going to use that times tables question set. But what the difference between this and, let's say, Kahoot is, with Kahoot, obviously the children just answer the questions, whereas with this, they answer the questions in the context of one of these mini games. And there's quite a few games for them to choose from, which makes it great because you can then just reuse the same question set over and over, but it doesn't become boring for the children because they're playing different games each time. So we're going to do the racing one just because it's nice and quick. So I'm going to tap on host game, and then tap on host now. So all I need you guys to do, again, on any device that's connected to the internet, is just go to this website, play.blookit.com, put the code in 576561, and then it'll ask you for your name, get yourselves logged in, and then we'll have a quick go at it. Okay, so just while we're waiting for the last couple to log in, the way this works is you are in a straight up race with everyone. You're going to be asked questions, times tables questions. The quicker you get the answer, the quicker you'll move up the track. You might also earn power-ups that will either move you further up the track or allow you to knock other people back. So if you notice that your screen freezes or shrinks or anything like that, that's someone else in the group choosing out of everyone you to punish, right? So we'll give this a go. You ready?
Ready, set, go!
There we go. Right. Oh, joint first, Tara, Laura, and Kit. Well done, you three. And as a prize, I've spoken to all of your schools, and the winner there is entitled to a whole week of PPA. I'm only joking. Can you imagine that? That would be amazing. Right. So, what's great about that? I hope you enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure your pupils will as well. And what's great is we could play the same question set over and over with a different mini game. We're not going to do that, but I will view the report, which lets us know how we've done overall. 91%. That is not bad at all. And we've got everyone's individual scores here as well. So what I love about Blookit is really fun, really engaging, but the fact that you can create question sets about absolutely anything just makes it a tool you can use right across the curriculum. If you want to do some spelling practice, some grammar practice in English, like we've just seen with maths, times tables, or quiz about 3D shapes, whatever it might be, or little recap for those low stakes knowledge retrieval practice, history, geography, science. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, on to the next one. Has anyone come across this tool here? Learning by questions. Now this I absolutely love. I've been using this for a number of years. The only downside with learning by questions is that you do have to pay for it, unfortunately. It is not a free tool like the rest of them. However, you will get a 30-day free trial. So I would recommend using that free trial, giving it a go. If you feel like it's having an impact, if you feel like you're going to get the most out of it, you might consider buying into it. Now, I believe it's roughly around about £250 a year for a teacher license, which I think, given the amount of content that's available, is worth it, right? So for Key Stage 2, so this isn't as accessible free YTS Key Stage 1, but for Key Stage 2, amazing. It covers everything as far as English, maths, science, geography, history, right? Now, English, you've got question sets for your reading, writing, punctuation, grammar, all sorts. Science has some really good vocabulary quizzes and question sets. Geography and history are a little bit more comprehension based, but it's maths that I use it mostly for. So when you tap on maths, you'll see here we've got all the strands we cover. So I can tap onto one of the strands. I've then got all the objectives I will cover right from year 3 upwards. So this covers even secondary, if there are any secondary school teachers joining us. Now, if I click on one of the question sets, it brings up 30 questions usually. And what you'll notice with the questions is as the children work through, it sort of progresses them. So we start on level 1, which is understanding, moving on to level 2, which is your fluency, level 3, which is reasoning, and then level 4, which is problem solving, right? So it will progress the children as they work through. And actually, just having access to all these questions as you're teaching can be fantastic. So if at any point I want to use one of these questions, if I just tap that teach this question button, that will load that question up on my screen. I can now talk through the question, and I've got it hooked up to my interactive whiteboard. I can now start, showing how I would work it out, whatever it might be. But you can also actually do it as an assessed task with your class. So I'm going to do that. We're going to have a quick go for you to see what the children will go, what it's like for them. So you can set the end time of your lesson, and that can be whenever. So during lockdown, we use this a lot. So I can change that to be midnight pretty much. And then whenever was best for the children to log in to access the tech, they can do. But we don't need to worry about lockdowns and remote teaching because that's never going to happen again, is it? And I know that's never going to happen again because Boris Johnson said it's never going to happen again. And, when he says something. Anyway, right, start. Here we go. So if you can get yourselves logged in by either scanning that QR code or going to the website there, lbq.org/task. And up to this point, everything that I have mentioned, Mentimeter, Blookit, learning by questions, works on every device. These are all web tools. So whether you're on a Chromebook, laptop, they work right across. So once you are logged in, press the number 1 question set. So only set 1 question set. And then just have a go at working through as many of the questions you can as quickly as you can. Okay, now what I'd like you all to do, and I know this is difficult for some teachers, can you get a question wrong for me, please? Some of you already preempted this, which is fantastic. Well done. Just for you to see what the program does when you get a question wrong. Okay, now I'm just, oh, God, I thought I'd turn that off. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tap this button here, which should now pause all of your screens. Oh, yes. That's an actual feature. You can pause all of the children's screens. Now, if that's not just made the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, can you even call yourself a real teacher? So if you can see my screen here, this is the overview. This is what you will see as a teacher. So the idea is that you can keep an eye on how the children are getting on in real time. Now, you don't have to have this up on your board. It can be for your eyes only. But if you're seeing a green square there, it means you got the question right first time. If it's an orange square, it means you've got it wrong, but then you've corrected yourself and the number tells me how many attempts that's taken. If it's a red square, it means you've got it wrong and you've yet to correct yourself. So ideally, we want to stay away from those red squares. But if you notice when you did get a question wrong, what happened? The program gave you some feedback, and it actually gives you feedback specific to the answer you've given. So if you then put a different incorrect answer in, the likelihood is you'll get a different answer. What you'll also notice with like pupil 4 here is that they have, and I can show names if I want, but they've whizzed through the understanding part. So the program picks up on this and thinks, right, they need challenging. So it sort of differentiates the children as they're working through the set of questions. If it feels like they're finding it easy and straightforward, it's like, right, let's move them on, let's make it more challenging. And the idea with this is rather than giving children a group of questions for them to get on within their exercise book, and it's only at the end of the lesson when you check the books do you realize they've not quite grasped it. This gives you an insight as and when it's happening. And the fact that it's no photocopying, no printing, you can actually have a cup of warm, a hot cup of tea in the morning rather than running around like a headless chicken trying to photocopy and trim it, whatever it might be. And if there is during the lesson, let's say question 7 there is coloured orange at the top because quite a few of us haven't got that correct. I can pause everyone's screen, tap on the question, choose view question, bring that question up on our board. Right, children, let's all look at this. A few of us have struggled with this question, so I'm going to go through it and I can address any misconceptions right there and then in the lesson. It is absolutely brilliant. I can obviously add other tasks in as well. So if I've got a group of children who are working above age-related expectations, I can add a year 5 question set in. Similarly, if there's a group of children who can't access the year 4 question set, I can go in and add a year 3 question set. So do have a look at it. Use the free trial. See how you get on, and then you can consider whether to buy it. I know some schools have actually bought a license through their like geography budget or whatever it might be. Right, one more before I move on. I don't know if anyone's come across this website, polypad.org. Now, I've only recently discovered this website. Again, works on every device. And I don't know where it's been. Apparently, it's been out for a few years, but I've only just discovered it. And I'm telling you now, if you teach maths in your school, you are going to be using this website. It's brilliant. It's like this interactive whiteboard that just has everything you could possibly need when demonstrating anything in maths. So on the left-hand side, if I'm doing 2D, 3D shapes, I can bring a 2D shape onto my screen. We can look at symmetry and cutting it and moving the parts if I want to, or I could look at 3D shapes, bringing 3D shapes in, and we can unfold it to look at the nets if I want to. If I'm looking at numbers, I've got access to what they're called, Numicon sort of, or number cards or number lines or number tiles. You get the idea, Dean's there if I want, and then we can split them into rows of 10. Do all sorts, basically. Fractions, you've got your fraction bars here, so I can bring in a whole and then look at that as a half, and you get the idea. So you've got all those options there, but then you've also got these templates that you can use as well. So if, for example, I wanted to bring up 100 coins, because we're looking at statistics, probability, we can flip each coin. I can then select a section. We can tabulate it. I can then create a bar chart to show my data there. It even has lessons that you can do as well. It's all completely and utterly free. So have a minute while we're here now, have a minute just to load it up. So it's polypad.org. Have a little bit of a play with it. Guarantee you're going to use it when you're teaching maths over the next couple of weeks. Polypad.org. Right, okay, we'll come back together if that's okay, because we've not got too much time. So yeah, there we go. We've been with what, half an hour there, and you've already got hopefully you've got a handful of tech tools you can take back to class and use tomorrow. That will enhance the curriculum. How rare is that for a training session? Actually taking something back that you can use. I'm only joking. I'm just thinking of last staff meeting I had to sit through. Anyway, so I just want to talk a little bit about tech and where I sort of feel it fits into today's classroom, because we've been on quite the journey over the past few years as teachers with tech, haven't we? And yeah, if you think about it, doesn't make some amazing stuff, technology, like the fact we're able to do this, the fact that I'm sat in my little office here and being able to speak to 70 of you all over the UK and beyond. It's a mad thing, isn't it? And if you think about what technology has done over the past few years, I mean, can you imagine trying to survive the last 3 or 4 years with the technology we had when we were kids? A Nokia 3210. Can you imagine surviving the pandemic with that? It'd have been a struggle, wouldn't it? My high score on Snake would have been good though, eh? But having Netflix to keep us entertained at any hour of the day was great. FaceTime to speak to our loved ones, even though we couldn't be there in person. Zoom quizzes, they were great, weren't they? For about a week. Then they became very tedious. But we all had that one keen friend who wanted to carry on doing the Zoom quizzes. And you have to have that awkward conversation when you were like, oh, I can't bother. Oh, sorry, mate, can't make it tonight. And they text you back like, why? And you would go, and you didn't have an excuse because you were literally stuck locked down in your house, but you were busy baking banana bread, watching Tiger King, And to see the way technology supported education over the past few years has been brilliant. Now, don't get me wrong, it's been the most challenging aspect of any educator's career, this pandemic, but there have been a few positives, haven't they? You know, one of my favourite positives from the pandemic, which I cannot get my head around why we didn't think of this before, children coming into school in their PE kits. Game changer. Unbelievable, that, isn't it? We used to get them to bring the PE kits in and waste half the PE lesson getting them changed, whereas now they just come into school in the PE kit. You get to actually do some PE. Unbelievable. Why did we not think of that before? There's one positive. But another big positive for someone like myself, who's been campaigning and trying to get teachers to use more technology over the past few years. The pandemic's been great for that, because it almost forced a lot of schools and a lot of teachers to embrace the tech. And the amount of learning, innovation and creativity that teachers have shown over the past few years. I said right the way through the pandemic, I've never been prouder to call myself a teacher than to see how our profession stepped up to every single challenge, and how some of the most reluctant teachers were embracing technology and doing some amazing things. And I think, you know, the schools who were using the right tools saw the benefits. Not that it was ever going to replace having children in class with us. We're able to see that actually this technology can help children in lots of different ways. And what I want to make sure we do now as we're coming out the other side of the pandemic is that we continue to build on that. Nothing is more frustrating than visiting schools when I'm saying to them, talk me through what you were doing during home learning. What did you do? Oh, we did this, 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 and this. I'm like, brilliant. How are you using it now? The children are back in class. Oh, we don't. What? We don't. We've left it, that was just something we did in lockdown. We've gone back to what we were always doing. Like pre-pandemic times were the perfect time in teaching. And it wasn't, was it? It's not like all of a sudden the pandemic's created all these workload, well-being, retention, recruitment issues. It's worsened them, but we had all of that beforehand. Why would we take such a massive step back and leave all that innovation, that amazing learning teachers have undertook? But anyway, it really does sort of frustrate me, because for me, this technology is necessary for some of our children now. And if it's necessary for some, it's good for all. In the same way it was necessary for him. So this is the Lost Voice guy, the winner of Britain's Got Talent a few years ago. And if you think about what technology did for him, you know, technology gave him a voice. And only a decade ago, he wouldn't have been able to dream of achieving what he's achieved. But through this technology, he's able to do some incredible, amazing things. And I love that. I think it's brilliant. But it does frustrate me that we can be doing things like that, yet there'll be a child in your class who, whenever you do any sort of mental maths, just gets the answer straight away, but cannot spell for toffee. Or a child who, whenever you do any sort of topic work, has this depth of understanding that completely blows you away, where you're constantly like, how do you know that? Yeah, handwriting's all over the shop. How are we allowing technology to help these children achieve? Because I feel as a profession, we sort of fail these children because, you know, generally speaking, we are still so narrow-minded as far as valuing the work children produce. And what I mean by that is there are too many schools who work to the model of, well, if a child hasn't done it on a piece of paper that we can glue and stick in an exercise book to show someone who's not been in a classroom for I don't know how long, it's not worthwhile. So we create these unnecessary barriers for highly intelligent children just because they struggle to get ideas down in that format within a given time period. Which, when they leave school, really, they very rarely write anything in that format. I get 60% of the handwriting you do in your life now, you do before you're 18. And if you take yourself outside of teaching, when was the last time you had to handwrite anything for someone else to read? Birthday cards. I wonder how many of you got your last birthday card from Moonpig or Funky Pigeon, you know? Now, I'm not sitting here as this progressive teacher who wants to rid our educational system of all its traditional values, because, you know, I don't get trolled on Twitter again, thanks. Handwriting is still incredibly important. That's not up for debate. It's a very, very important skill for us as individuals. I've got no issue with schools doing 15, 20 minutes of handwriting practice a day. In fact, you should be doing that. What frustrates me is we've yet to create a system where we could be doing 15 minutes of typing practice as well, knowing that for certain children, this might be a much more accessible way for them to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding, which is what I believe is what we're all striving for now, this knowledge-rich, broad and balanced curriculum, yet we only allow children to demonstrate that knowledge and understanding in one format. And if they struggle to do that, they feel like failures in our education system. If the technology is necessary for some, it's good for all. In the same way, it's necessary for my boys. So I've got 11-year-old triplets in Manchester. Well, not got them anywhere else. Don't know why I said that. I hope not anyway. So I've got 2 identical boys and a girl. And my 2 boys are both dyslexic. So they really struggle with certain aspects of their reading and writing. And it frustrates the hell out of me that dyslexia is still such a huge barrier to learning in 2022 when it just doesn't need to be. And the reason why that's the case is it's more about us and how we value the work children produce. And because we are, it's all about in an exercise book. We create barriers that make my boys feel like failures. And it really does frustrate. It'll have happened today, right? Up and down the country, there'll be hundreds of children who at some point today will have said, Miss Sir, I don't know how to spell that word. And 9 times out of 10, a teacher will say, what? Right, we'll go and grab a dictionary, yeah? Go and grab that massive book full of thousands of other words you can't spell, and good luck. Whereas now we've all got this technology in our fingertips where instantly we can just say, how do you spell beautiful?
Beautiful. B-E-A-U-T-I-F-U-L.
Yeah. Now, children, know we've been practicing our times tables and know you think you're a master of your times tables, but you cannot consider yourself a master until you're able to beat the most advanced computer system in the world, aka Siri. Right, okay, let's put it to the test. You ready? What is 7 times 8?
It's 56.
There we go. Now, I'm not for 1 second suggesting children use that for absolutely everything. If it's a word I think the children should be able to spell, they'll have a good go at it. But listen, we've all been there. You're teaching ancient Egypt to year 4 and a child says, Mr. P, how do you spell sarcophagus again? And you're like, it's a good question, that, pal. Just give me a second. You know, I don't see the harm in it. And that's just one of many useful accessibility tools available through a device like the iPad. Let's say, for example, I jump into Seesaw and I bring up the note tool. Now, it doesn't matter which app I'm on here. Any app where you use your keyboard, next to the space bar is this tool here, this little microphone, which is your dictation tool. And what this allows you to do is talk into the iPad and the iPad will type it for you, full stop. Now, it's not perfect and it can be temperamental if it is a very noisy classroom or if the children don't speak clearly into the iPad, full stop. But in a quiet space, speaking clearly, this can be an incredibly powerful way for some children to get their ideas noted down, full stop. Yeah. Now, obviously, you need to check it. So that should be noted down. But you get the idea. Yeah. That is a tool that my boys use quite a lot for their comprehension homework. And it just means they can get those ideas down a lot quicker. Interestingly, when the iPad updates, so waiting for the iOS 16 update, that dictation tool will now automatically put punctuation in as well. Because that, by the way, is an absolute game changer when it comes to end of year written reports. Oh, yes, I'm giving you your wit holiday back now, guys. You are no longer going to have to lock yourself in a darkened room on the only sunny week of the year to write pointless end of year reports. Now you can just say it in a matter of minutes. Because one thing teachers don't do, right, when it comes to end of year reports, is we don't write one set of reports when we're in NQT because we don't know any better. And we sit there slaving for hours. And then the year after, we're like, I've not got time for that. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll load up my NQT reports. Right, Billy from my NQT class. Who's most like Billy this year? Zach's like, we don't do that, right? So how do I make sure that's enabled on my device? Well, in your settings, where you've got general, and along the way where you've got keyboard, towards the bottom, you've got that enabled dictation. So if you turn that on, that will allow that dictation tool to work. Now, while I'm here, I'll share a couple of other accessibility tools with you. So you'll see underneath general in your settings on your iPad, iPhone, you've got accessibility, right? Now, there is a whole range of different tools you can enable that can support children with different learning needs here. I can't go through all of them, but the one that I use most regularly is this spoken content option, right? Now, spoken content, there's two options, there's speak selection and speak screen. If you turn them both on, this is how I do internet research with younger children, right? So children will tap into the search bar, they'll dictate what they want to find out, all about caterpillars. We'll then search that. And if we tap one of the results, this website here, 10 fascinating facts about caterpillars, which may well be the case. This website might be packed full of interesting facts, but what you also notice about a lot of websites, there are these distracting adverts, and you can't always control what those adverts are going to show, can you? It's normally dependent on what you've been Googling, or what you've been, where you are, your location, or even what you've been talking about with someone, you know. I had a funny story, so sometimes when I do my training, this was a couple of years ago, but sometimes when I'm doing my training with our courses, I'll get the odd person who thinks they know a lot about technology as well and try and trip me up with certain things. And I remember this one guy on a course said to me, "Oh, I was on your blog the other day and all the adverts were inappropriate. They were all for, you know, sites." And I had to inform him that I actually use Google Ad Search. So it presents adverts based on what you've Googled. And that, yeah, he turned very red. Didn't really say anything for the rest of the day. But anyway, is there a way in which you can present the information from the website without those distractions? Well, just at the top, where you see the web address, thoughtco.com, to the left-hand side, you'll see this little AA. So if you tap that AA, you'll see this show reader view. Now, this doesn't work on every website. It has to be coded a certain way, but majority of websites have it enabled. And what this will now do is it will abstract the website down to almost like a Word document, right? So it now just presents the information without those distractions. I can tap that AA and change the background color, change the font, make the text bigger. But if I've got that speak selection, what that allows me to do is select a paragraph of text like so. You'll see there's a few options, including speak. And what that will do now is Siri will read that paragraph to me. So that's the speak selection.
A caterpillar has as many as 4,000 muscles in its body. That's one seriously muscle-bound insect. By comparison, humans have just...
Yeah. So again, I'm not for 1 second suggesting we stop teaching children how to read. Don't need to bother with that read, write, stink anymore. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is while children are mastering the mechanics of decoding, or if there are barriers there, these are tools that allow them to access the rest of the curriculum. So that speak selection. Speak screen is just simply swiping 2 fingers top to bottom, like so.
The larval stage of the life cycle is all about growth.
And that will read the
within
whole
the span
page
of
to
a
you.
few weeks.
So quick recap there, select a paragraph of text, that speak selection, swipe 2 fingers top to bottom, that speak screen. What else can I do here? Well, if I take a screenshot of my screen here by pressing the home button and the lock button on my iPad, I can load that picture up in the bottom left-hand corner, and it will present the screen that I've captured. But you'll also notice at the top, we've got full page. So on websites, you can take a picture of your screen, but you can also then create a PDF of the whole website. So I've got all the information without any distractions there. So what have I got now? Well, I've got a waggle. We're going to write an information text about a mini beast. The children can now use this and the markup tools to highlight all of the features. And we can then send that to the printer for them to access when it comes to writing their own information text, non-chronological reports, whatever it might be. So there's another little feature as well. Now, if you've got newer iPads, there's a brilliant tool built into your camera now. Now, if you do not have this feature enabled, don't worry, I'll show you some apps that you can use instead. Well, this is using the live text tool, right? The live text tool. So basically, if you load up your camera, right? If you load up your camera and you hold it, oh, what have we got here? Of all the books, what are the chances? I've just picked up this Sunday Times bestseller. Right, if I hold the camera over some text, you notice in the top right hand corner there is a little scan icon, and if I tap that scan icon, it will take a picture of the text, to which I can then select all and speak.
Right then, class. Today we are going to be learning about how a strong stomach is essential for a primary school teacher, why parents need to keep a lock on their own toy drawer, whether teachers break wind and blame the children, why teaching is more dangerous than you think.
You get the idea. So when it comes to word problems in maths, that is no longer a barrier to that lesson. If I've got children who struggle to decode text, that is no longer a barrier to that lesson. Now, if you have got slightly older iPads or your iPads haven't updated to the latest iOS, there are a couple of apps you can use instead. The first one is this Microsoft Office Lens app. So Microsoft Office Lens is a free scanning app. All right, so it's been about for a while. It's a great sort of scanning tool. And what you can do is you can scan a page. So let's say, right, I'm going to try and get a page here. Right. Okay, so let's get a page like that. And then I can just crop it in. Get my fingers out of the way. And what it should then do is present it in quite a high quality image. So if I tap on done, I can obviously save that as a photo or save it as a PDF, but you'll notice towards the bottom, you've got this immersive reader tool. Now, immersive reader is one of Microsoft's accessibility tools. So immersive reader is available on Office tools. So if you use Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and what it will do is if I just tap that button there, it will now process that text and present it in a much more accessible format, as you will see here. So you see it's presented in a much more sort of accessible way. If I press the play button.
Teacher Confessions 173. Well, while we're on the subject and before we share some of the juiciest, sauciest confessions we've ever heard from school staff, I feel it is only right.
Juiciest, it's not quite picked it up perfectly. But if I want to change the font, I can press the AA. I can then change the text size, the background color. You might also notice that certain words are colored differently. Well, in the one button in the top right hand corner, you can actually identify parts of speech. So if I want to focus on looking at adjectives, for example, that will color, but yeah. And then it also has a built-in picture dictionary. So if you tap on certain words, not that one, like that, school, heard, share, it will give children visual prompts to help with their vocabulary. So that's Microsoft Office Lens. Fantastic way for children to access text in a much more accessible way. The other one is Seeing AI, SEEING-AI. So this is, again, a Microsoft app, a Microsoft tool, which was created for sighted and blind people. And you'll see down at the bottom, it has a range of different options, and it essentially just uses the camera to read for you. So the first option, like short text, is just a case of using the camera.
Classy is right on, class. Today we are going to be learning about how a strong stomach is essential for document.
Scan document and
hold processing.
Present it in a much more, well, editable text that I can copy and paste somewhere. It does handwriting. So it'll scan handwriting and type it for you. If you've got children with EAL
preview
and they're not sure what a certain object is, they can obviously take a picture of it.
Processing a bookshelf with books on it.
Tells them this. It even does people. So,
person. One face near bottom left, one face near center. Process 41-year-old man with brown hair and a beard looking happy.
Right. So
zero faces.
It's clearly not very accurate. 41. But I suppose that's what teaching does to you, you know, believe it or not. I'm an ECT. No, you get the idea there. So just to recap, let me just put my slides back up on the board. Because what I've also done here is I've obviously demonstrated all of them on the iPad, purely because the iPad is my favorite tech tool to use. That's my go-to. Any school who contacts me to say, hi, Mr. P, we're looking at getting some Chromebooks. Can you recommend which Chromebook to get? I'm like, yeah, an iPad, because an iPad does everything a Chromebook can, but so much more. So what I've done on this screen, if you do want to take a picture of it, is just recapped on everything we've looked at there. So you've got your voice assistant, Siri on your iPad, and then instructions for how to get a Google Assistant on your Chromebook. Same with the dictation tool. And then there's a couple of Google Chrome extensions that do very similar things to what I've just shown you. The only ones that I've not been able to do is the live text, because obviously you've not got the camera option, and that's Seeing AI app. But there is an immersive reader Chrome extension as well. So hopefully in there you've been able to see some of the ways the technology can just be used day in, day out to support children with their learning. I think it's so important. Right, I've not got too long left, so I'm going to move swiftly on, because the other thing I want to talk about as well, because we've had a look at a few useful tools there, but we need to also do a lot more around an element of the computing curriculum that I feel is well, if I just give you a breakdown of the computing curriculum, it'll probably be easier. So computing is broken down into 3 strands, right? You've got computer science, information technology, and digital literacy. So on my website, we have progression documents that cover each one of these strands. With the schema where looks at everything here. So the way I'll just do a quick breakdown here is your computer science, is your coding, your programming, your algorithms, and so on. The bit that's more sort of the new bit, and it's not really my area, because I'm more the information technology and digital literacy. But when it comes to teaching computer science, we will use our timetable computing slot. So each week when we're timetable to a computing lesson, we tend to be doing more of the computer science. The information technology, we try and embed across the rest of the curriculum. So let's say, for example, we've just finished reading a book, just finished reading Kensuke's Kingdom by Michael Morpurgo, right? And I want the children in the next English lesson to do a book review of that book, but I want them to do it in the format of a podcast using GarageBand. Okay, so yes, that is technically a computing lesson, but actually if you break that lesson down, we will still be covering so much more of the English curriculum than we would be computing. However, if my class have never used GarageBand before, what I'm going to need to do is make sure in my computing lesson beforehand, I do what's called a tinkering lesson. So a tinkering lesson is when we introduce a new app, a new piece of software, and we just give children the time to tinker, to explore, to familiarize themselves with all the different features and tools within that app. Dare I say it, have a bit of a play, if you can use the word play in education more. And that's not a free-for-all. It's not just a case of, right, children, here's this app, have a go. It's setting them little challenges. Right, children, now you've had a little explore of GarageBand. Can anyone work out how I would record my voice? Right, super. What if I wanted to edit the last part out because I made a mistake? And you set them these little challenges that hopefully get their heads around the app, so that then in that English lesson, the focus of that English lesson isn't how to learn how to use GarageBand. The focus of that English lesson is demonstrating their understanding of the story by creating those podcasts, if that makes sense. And then the last strand is your digital literacy. Now, this is what I'll sort of touch upon, because for me, this is one of the most important parts of the whole curriculum. We teach digital literacy. And if I was EdSec of England, if I was the Education Secretary of England, and I don't know who is this week, 9 in 12 years, 9 EdSecs in 12 years, you know, tell me you don't care about education, about telling me you don't care. I'm not getting into it. I'm not stop being politically right. So it would be at the forefront of my curriculum. The fact that we don't do more around digital literacy, I think, is one of the biggest failures of our current education system. Now, I think I might have seen a couple of teachers from Wales have joined us. I just want to make, I'm really jealous of the Welsh curriculum. I think the Welsh curriculum is really forward thinking with that digital literacy framework, which is at the forefront of your curriculum. For me, it seems like Wales have gone, this technology is going to play a very pivotal part in these children's lives, so we need to educate them about it. The problem I'm seeing with schools that I work with in Wales is that you've got this really forward thinking progressive curriculum as far as utilising the technology and educating around the technology, but a lot of schools are still, you know, doing book scrutinies and evidencing everything in a book, and it's like, we can't, you know, everything needs to move forward. Not anyway. And I think this is because that's the most common message I get sent at the minute from schools and teachers. Hi, Mr. P, we're having all these issues around Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok with our year 5s, year 6s. Can you recommend what we can do? And I'll say to these schools, you know, when was the last time you spent teaching children about internet safety? Like, how often do you, because if we're being completely honest with ourselves, we don't really, do we? Apart from one day of the year, Internet Safety Day is when most schools do it. And I've got nothing against the people behind Internet Safety Day, but my God, do I get annoyed with how many schools use it as a tick box exercise. You know what I'm talking about here? Where that's the only day in which you do anything about internet. You wouldn't do it with any other day. You wouldn't do it with World Book Day, would you? That's not the only day you read a book to your class, is it? World Book Day. But that's what a lot of schools do with Internet Safety Day, doing the same things year on year. You know, you'll see it, every bloody Facebook teacher group is littered with pictures of teachers stood there with a piece of paper. I want to raise awareness of how dangerous the internet is. Share this picture to show how far it can spread. You're going, what year is it? It's not 2008 anymore. And why are you making it out like going viral is a bad thing? Going viral can be brilliant if you go viral for the right thing. If you've got a skill, a talent, a passion for something, and from sharing that passion, it goes viral, it can create a job. It can create a career, an opportunity that was never available for when I was younger. You know, the conversation's got to move on from this is what can go viral to here are things we can share, children. What things can we share and what things shouldn't we share online because it can have a negative? And that's what we've got to understand. This is where teaching needs, our education system needs to move forward and understand that in 2022, we don't have a choice about using the internet. The choice we make is how well we do it. And if we're not going to model and educate children about the internet and how to use it responsibly, we are failing them massively, right? You know, I always joke about how most children are not going to talk about the internet until Internet Safety Day. And on Internet Safety Day, I'm going to take an hour out the afternoon to tell you all the bad things about the internet, how it's a naughty, naughty thing, and you should never, ever, ever, ever use it. And you should definitely never speak to anyone online. And now we're going to make a poster. And I'll say to these teachers, just out of interest, how did you meet your partner? You met them online, did you? All right, okay, good advice then, you know. We've got to be doing more. So I'm going to share with you a couple of useful resources to hopefully give you, because what a lot of teachers will say to me, well, I can't teach internet safety because I don't know about it myself. But I just don't think that's a good enough excuse anymore. And especially when we've got resources such as this document here, Education for a Connected World. So this is from the UK Council for Internet Safety, right? It's a very comprehensive framework for your digital literacy. It covers absolutely everything. And you can have the most academic child who whizzes through school getting every 9, A star, first degree, whatever it might. If they've not got a solid understanding of this, they're not going to make anything of themselves. You'd be amazed at how many teachers I come across who aren't aware of this, right? So if towards the end of last year, the amount of messages I'd get from teachers saying, hi, Mr. P, I'm applying for all these jobs, sending my CV in, but I just can't get invited for an interview, right? Why? What am I doing wrong? And then you look at their profile picture, and in the profile picture, they're like twerking or whatever it is, and you're going, I think I know why. You know, you've got to be aware of this. Every head teacher, the first thing they do, I didn't need to do that demonstration of me twerking there, did I? But might have woken a couple of you. Yeah. Oh God, I hope that's not being shared on Twitter, by the way. I'm not going to get scandal as Mr. P twerks on Zoom. So what was I saying there? Yeah, every head teacher I come across, when I say that, they go, yeah, first thing we do when we're recruiting someone, we don't even read the CVs, we look them up on Facebook and Instagram. So your career opportunities being defined by how you represent yourself online. Yet most teachers aren't aware of it, let alone the children. Now, what this document will do is it'll take each strand, like self-image and identity, and then break it down into objectives for each key stage. So you've got EYFS year 1, year 2, moving on to year 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, what I've done on my website is I've broken it down into year group overviews. So you'll see exactly what you need to cover for your year group. And what I would suggest doing is taking a staff meeting where you can sit as a staff and you can all read what you need to cover in your year group. Because yes, this isn't just digital literacy, it's RSC, it's PSHCE, and I know quite a lot of this is linked into schemes to work in PSHCE like Jigsaw if you use that. And some of it will need to be taught isolated. You will need to teach it discreetly in computing, but there's an awful lot that can then be linked into other areas of the curriculum. For example, if one of our lessons we're searching facts about, let's say, Julius Caesar, and the children are going to do a little bit of research online, well, while we're doing that research lesson in history, I can actually embed quite a lot of this managing online information. And this is a really, really important strand, I find. It's all about the sort of misinformation, disinformation, fake news, which has quite scarily affected most adults over the past few years. I'm sure you've all had a friend who has jumped through a few rabbit holes and sort of, you know, come out with, I'm not going to get into it, but just to get, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll do another quick little activity. Don't know if anyone's come across this website, wordwall.net. So this website, Wordwall, again, absolutely free, but with limited features. You do have to pay if you want to upgrade. But it allows you to basically create little activities for your children to do. So there's all these different activities you can do. So because I've been doing that managing online information strand in my lessons recently, I have created this little activity of matching keywords to the definition. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just go to that website and have a little go and see how you get on, right? So how are you going to access that website? Well, if you're using Google Chrome, you know, in the search bar, see this little share icon here. If I tap that share icon and then choose create QR code, that should now create a QR code for that web page. So if you all want to scan that QR code, it should take you to this web page, and you can have a little go at that activity. See how many of those terms linked to managing online information you're aware of. Can you all see that QR code? If you can't, no, you can't see the QR code, right? I'll tell you what, I'll download it. I'll download the QR code. I will put it into my presentation and I'll share it that way. Right, so stop share on there and then back in. Right, hopefully you should be able to see the QR code here, bottom left hand corner of that computing slide. So if you just want to have a go at scanning that. So again, if you're on an iPhone or iPad, just load up your camera, scan it, and then you should be able to go to that page, tap the start button, and again, it might be, yeah, you might need to zoom in or make it full screen to see it. Now, how I created that activity, by the way, is on that Education for Connected World document. Where am I going now? Education for Connected. Towards the bottom, there is a glossary. So it's a case of literally just copying and pasting into that word wall activity. So quite a few, you know, just a little example there. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I wouldn't have a clue about some of that. I've never come across some of these words in my life. I wouldn't have the first idea about how to teach lessons about digital literacy. Well, this website, projectevolve.co.uk, is the Southwest Grid for Learning that had a brilliant e-safety curriculum. They've worked tirelessly over the past couple of weeks to update it to this Education for Connected World document. And yeah, if you tap on Access Toolkit, you'll need to create a login. Okay, it's free to log up, sign up to, free to access. But what it will do is you can search by your year group. So let's say I go year 6, self-image and identity. Choose the objective I'm going to cover. It will then give you outcomes. It'll give you questions to ask. It'll give you a lesson plan to follow and all the necessary resources to carry out that lesson plan. So on that website for free, it has lesson plans for absolutely every one of those objectives. Another one worth checking out as well is Digital Matters from Internet Matters. These, again, more aimed at upper key stage 2, year 5, year 6, really, but they have got some brilliant lessons there linked to that Education for Connected World document as well. Right, I think I can maybe fit one more little idea with you. I'm going to share this website with you because this is lots of fun. It's sketch.metademolab.com. And what it allows children to do is either bring their drawings or pictures of themselves to life. It's a nice way of sort of introducing a bit of animation. So what you can do is you can upload a photo. So I've got a photo of myself here. So I'm actually going to use a picture of myself. But it can be the children's drawings, right? Yeah, happy with that. We then, yeah, it's picked it all up because this is one I've done earlier. We can then just put the eyes and everything into the correct place. And when we tap next, it will now create it as a little animation. Whee, there I am, jumping across the screen. Or if I want to make myself sort of dance, here we are. There's me on a Friday night, getting down. And then you can obviously share that and save it as a little video. So a nice fun little way of getting children to animate their own little drawings and that sort of thing. So that's sketch.metademolab.com. Right, so I hope you found that session useful. I hope it's given you a handful of ideas that you can take back to class and give a go. Also, a little bit more of an understanding on the computing curriculum, although I did sort of whiz through that quite a bit. But if there are any other questions, now's your time to put it in, because we've got another sort of 5 minutes or so before we answer. Before we finish, so I can go through any of those questions. What I will do is I will quickly put my details back up on the board. How do I, I'll delete that after, right. So if there are any other questions off the back of today, and like I say, if you are interested in further training, I can come and visit your school and lead training in your school. Or if you want access to the idea, all available on my website. I have just finished working on a document about how technology can be used to raise standards in writing. So I've got this writing for a purpose document, which is just being uploaded to the website as well. So the idea with that is, rather than children just writing a text for an audience of 1, which is you, to do it in an exercise book so you can mark it, and then you're wondering why children aren't engaging in writing. It's a sort of an ebook that shows how once the children have done a piece of narrative writing, a persuasive advert, they can utilize the technology and actually perform it, bring it to life, create much more relevant and engaging forms of media that not only will have a huge impact on the quality of writing children produce, it allows you to embed the whole of the English curriculum, including all the spoken language objectives as well. Right, okay, so I'll jump over to the Q&A. I'll go right back to the start. So I've recently turned ICT lead in my school. Can't wait to pick up some tips to get back to school. Thank you. Oh, Megan, thank you. Well, I hope you've, is that, yeah, that was as we started. So it's not you're saying that now, as in, hopefully you have picked up a few tips, which is great. Presentation is in co-ICT. On menti.com, can you see who answered what? That might be an option. Or there might be a way of setting that up. I'm not 100% sure. But when you design questions, there is an option to remove inappropriate language. So if the children do try it on and put something appropriate, the chance that won't come up on Menti because it has a filter. You can allow the filter to block out any inappropriate words. Unfortunately, we aren't allowed to use Seesaw. Our academy says no. Oh, that's a shame because it's an absolute game changer. Love that game. Is there an editable mode to translate questions to Welsh? From Anna. Anna, is that, sorry, I don't know which tool you were using. Oh, for learning by questions, right. I don't know off the top of my head, I'm afraid. I know it's more tailored to the English curriculum, but what learning by questions are really good at is taking on board feedback. So if you were to get in touch with them and make a suggestion of either creating more content linked to the Welsh curriculum or that translation tool, I'm sure they'll try their best to accommodate. They are really good at sort of taking on feedback. What accent is that? Manchester. I always think I don't have an accent, but I think I do when I travel here, there and everywhere. Do the dictation tools and reader view only apply to iPads? Can this also be done on Chromebooks? Hopefully I answered that with the slide I put up that looked at alternatives there as well. Can you repeat how to create a PDF from website to text, please? Yes. Do you mean, yeah. So, no, wrong. Oh, is that going to bring up my iPad? There we go. Right. So, on a website, any website, it is at the top where you've got your search bar. To the left-hand side, you've got that AA. And if the show reader view appears, you can tap show reader view and that will then abstract it down. If I take a screenshot of that and load that screenshot up, I can then access the full page PDF and obviously print that out or save it to the likes of Seesaw and Google Drive. Brilliant. Right. Thank you. Brilliant, Sevens. Thank you. By far the best train I've been on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Megan. Really appreciate that. And oh, sorry, that's my Alexa going on. Any good apps for independent working in Key Stage 1 for quick finishes? There are lots of tasks you can create on Seesaw as an extension. And obviously some of the tools available on Seesaw are also brilliant for removing barriers for certain children as well. Is it possible to send us links to or a list? Yeah, I can email that over. What I'll do is I'll email that over to the team and then they can obviously distribute it with you all there. What inspired you to start including more tech in the classroom? What inspired me? I just think just my own interest in it, you know. I think because I was never, I got no qualifications with technology at all, but it's just something I'm quite interested in and passionate about. And, you know, I'll tell you what it was. I'll tell you what with the iPad, Alan Pete, I don't know if you've ever come across Alan Pete's work. He was an English trainer and his stuff's like, he's retired now, enjoying his well-deserved retirement. And he came to my school for an inset day, and it was actually the week after I just come back off paternity leave with my triplets, and he did this training day and it absolutely blew me away. It was the best training to this day I've ever had, and on part of it he just showcased a couple of apps on the iPad and I was like, flipping out, this is good. And a year later we were able to invest in some iPads. I was able to roll it out throughout the school. And just from using it in class, I was just seeing how it was engaging children, empowering children, removing barriers for certain children. And yeah, the rest is history. So I just started sharing some of those ideas with with Twitter and Facebook. And then yeah, next minute I'm getting asked to do training, and yeah, we're what, 10 years on, and here we are. So there we go. There's a brief little history. So with Blookit, would you use this as a starter, plenary, or main lesson? I'd probably say more starter and plenary with Blookit, whereas learning by questions, I did that last week with year 4, so that was more of a whole lesson. Right, I am quickly going to go through this because there's someone at my door and I think it's my children come back from football training, and I think my wife might have locked them out. So not a question, but thanks so much. Based in Ireland now. All right, I'd love to come over to Ireland and do some training. if you want to book me in. Any advice on trying to get SLT on board with using more technology in the classroom, especially when it comes to giving feedback? Try it, trial it, trial it, show the impact it's having, and then surely they can't deny it if it's clear that it's having the sort of impact. I was delighted to win joint first. Thank you, really useful. Thank you. Do you have any quick tips for overcoming the time consumer? Practice makes perfect with Key Stage 1. With younger children, when it comes to introducing new apps, new bits of software, I do it small guided groups to begin with, and you'll be surprised at how quick they can pick things up. So I would go for a sort of carousel activity with EYFS and Year 1. With certain apps to build up that independence, and it won't be long before the running with it. How do you get people to be as passionate about computing as yourself? I love it, but my staff don't share the feeling. If I knew the answer to that, my life would be a lot easier at my school as well. Great turn into the school. We need to invest in more technology. Yeah, thank you very much. Right, okay. I am going to have to go there if that's all right, because I just need to answer my front door. Is that all right? Like I say, if there are any other questions, do get in touch. Any feedback, anything like that would be greatly received as well. If you've enjoyed it, if you've not enjoyed this, just stay away from social media if you can. That'd be great. But it's been lovely to speak to you all. Thank you very, very much, and hopefully see you all again very soon. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who's attended our Teacher Talk this evening. I hope you all enjoyed. I won't keep you too long as I'm aware that it is 7:30. Just a quick reminder that you guys that are members can get 30% off online at Staedtler products at whsmith.co.uk. And of course, don't forget to sign up for our other amazing Teacher Talk events that we've got going on over the next month or so. We've got one with Shazia Mirza, we've got one with Greg Jenner, Angelica Bell, Michael Underwood, and we'd love to hear from you. So do be sure to share on social media and use the hashtag #TeacherTalk2022. And of course, hopefully we'll see you really soon. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put our email address in the chat. So you should be able to drop us an email if you've got any issues whatsoever. But of course, you can email us also any time of the month, or drop us a message on Facebook, Twitter, however you'd like, and we can get back to you there. We will of course be sharing a survey not too long after this, so grateful if you could fill that out. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evenings. It's been great to have you all here. Thank you ever so much, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. No problem at all. Yeah, Megan, absolutely, we will share the slides with you. We will share some of the details with you. Shaul, I'm glad you enjoyed. Wonderful. Thank you so much all. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your evenings, and I'm sure we'll see you at the next Teacher Talk. Thanks. Bye-bye.